The first bill we have on the agenda today is House File 1048. It is a Vice Chair Feist bill. We'll give her a minute to get up to the table. We do have a number of members from the community that have signed on to the bill, so that's great. And I will move to lay over House File 1048. We do have an A1 amendment, so once you get to the table, we will have you describe the amendment. And, running shoes today. Great. And if you would like to move your amendment, the A1, and then describe it to us, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The A1 amendment is something that I've been working on for several weeks with the youth intervention programs. So we thought of reporting requirements before they were cool. And I think they'll just be a really important way that we can really understand where this funding is going and how it's impacting our youth. And so I would encourage members to support this amendment, just creating some reporting requirements. Thank you.
Any discussion to the A1 amendment? Seeing none, all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails and the A1 amendment is adopted. Representative Feist, please describe your bill to us as amended.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. So the first youth intervention programs grant legislation passed in 1976, authored by State Senator Skip Humphrey. The original intent of the bill remains intact. It's a stable source of funding for youth-serving programs and support for young people's development into healthy adults across the state. Today, a diverse set of youth work disciplines make up current 75 YIP grantees. This program has been historically underfunded, and while our public safety budget has continued to expand, the YIP grant has not, and this is really a key public safety initiative. We need to catch up. The last time that the Minnesota Office of Justice Programs issued a request for proposals in 2021, the amount requested was 5 times the amount available. And I just wanted to mention that I had the opportunity on Tuesday to attend one of the YIP grantees, Boulder Options in Minneapolis, and it was just a really a wonderful opportunity to really see where this money goes. There were a number of children there, ages 10 through 14, who were referred by social workers in their schools in a really structured environment, in a really safe space with their mentors, learning how to do comic book characters. So I made a comic book villain. And it was just a really, really great opportunity to just understand what we're spending this money on. I would also just direct committee members to the really wonderful letters that are in their packets, both from people who have participated in these programs, who have run these programs, different grantees. I think they're just a really good cross-section of the community members who have been impacted and who have participated in this programming. And because both I and Mr. Munir love David Bowie, I feel like we need a quote. So I would say we really have a good thing going, and I would encourage members to support this funding, and I'll turn it over to my testifiers.
Thank you, Vice Chair Feist. And it looks like we have the first testifier is Enzo Lakalasara. Oh, no. Yep, that's fine. Paul Munir. All right. Welcome to the committee, Mr. Munir. Please introduce yourself and begin your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and you did a good job with my name. Very good. Happy National Pizza Day, everybody. I don't know if you're aware, but my name is Paul Munir, and I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Youth Intervention Programs Association. Most people know us as YIPA. YIPA is an inclusive association of youth-serving programs that empower our young people. Together, we create a one-of-a-kind community that unites the large and diverse field of youth development. We learn from each other, encourage each other, grow together, and share a common just cause, and that just cause is the well-being of our young people. Currently, we have 224 Minnesota members, 5% are individual members, 30% are YIP grantee members, and 65% are the non-YIP grantee organizational members. That's 157 youth-serving organizations that are part of YIPA that would meet the requirement for YIP grant funding. Minnesota has about 357,000 young people between the ages of 6 and 24 that are at risk of unhealthy development into adulthood. The current YIP grant allocation of a little over $3.25 million per year positively impacts roughly 30,000 young people, or 8%. House File 1048 proposes to add $10.725 million per year to the YIP allocation. This will reach an additional 107,500 more youth and provide support to roughly 40% of the 357,000 that I mentioned. The YIP grant requires a one-to-one match of local funding, which should cover the other 60% of funding to reach all of those 357,000 young people. Madam Chair and committee members, the need is great. This investment will provide a major shift in strength and safety of communities all across the state. Since each YIP grant program is unique and varies greatly, the Youth Intervention Program's YIP Outcome Survey intentionally focuses on a universal subset of 9 of the 40 developmental assets identified by the Search Institute of Minnesota. The survey collects young people's self-reported views on those protective factors. All the research shows that when young people develop protective factors, and some people call them external supports or internal strengths, they are more likely to be prepared for success in ongoing education, career, and good citizenship. Over time, studies of more than 5 million young people consistently show that the more protective factors they have, the less likely they are to engage in a wide range of high-risk behaviors, and the more likely they are to positively develop their unique skills and talents. Community-based programs are effective. For the 2022 YIP Outcome Survey, 67% of young people reported it helped them plan ahead and make good choices. And 60% reported that it helped them accept and take personal responsibility for their actions. And then finally, Madam Chair, YIPA plays a significant role in training anyone who supports young people across the state with a suite of learning opportunities that we have called the Professional Youth Worker. In 2022, we had 8,891 training registrations for our live and on-demand trainings. We had 162 registrations for the Art and Science of Youth Work certificate course. We had 3,073 downloads of the Passionate Youth Worker podcast, and we had 3,454 views of the Quick Takes Youth Worker blog. We take great pride in our standards and our processes to ensure excellence. And in 2022, 98.5% of survey respondents said that they learned or reaffirmed skills that will help them in their support of young people. And this, I'm proud of this, 100% of survey respondents said that YIPA trainings enhance their ability to positively impact the outcomes for the young people they serve. I just would like to say thank you for the chance to testify. The well-being of our young people is our just cause. It's what we work for. It's what we get up for every day. And I sure hope this is the year that we can finally make a big impact for our young people. And after the other testifiers, I'd be happy, Madam Chair, to take any questions the committee members might have. You or the committee members.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. And as someone who's given trainings before, that 100% approval rate is quite phenomenal. Actually, I can only wish for that as a trainer myself. So
we have some pretty phenomenal staff, and we do have standards. Before we do a training, we do a full rehearsal. We never do anything just for the first time. We always go through a full rehearsal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the great work you do. I'm not sure who's testifying next. I have 2 people on the list. I have Enzo Lakalasara, and I have Stacy Guilfoyle Collier. So if you both want to make your way down, and I'm not sure who's coming first. Hi, welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself and begin your testimony.
Yes, I am Stacy Guilfoyle Collier. I am an executive director of Youth and Family Services at the YMCA of the North. I have the honor of leading a team of 80 youth, family, and outreach workers that serve the 7 Metro County area. I'm so appreciative of all the work that they do every day to serve our young people and our community. I'm also a YIPA board member and a YIPA grantee. Statistically, what I just introduced to you all should not be my story. Statistically speaking, I should have a criminal record, I should struggle with substance abuse, and I should not be able to meet my basic needs of myself or my family. I grew up surrounded by violence, drug use, and poverty. I've lost multiple peers, friends, and family to violence, incarceration, and drug addiction. I got lucky. In 1998, a pilot program came to my school called Beacons from the YMCA. There I got connected with some of the most amazing, outstanding, caring adults one could ever hope for. They connected me to so many resources, so many programs, and they invested in me. Despite my troubles, they saw endless possibility in me. I'm still connected to all of those amazing, phenomenal people today. They continue to pour into me, and they are an extension of my family. Fun fact, I have been testifying at this Capitol since I was 10 years old, asking for support for my community and for my peers. I stand before you, now 34, asking for that same support and resources needed for my community. The predatory luring that's happening in our community is not stopping. It is increasing and it is growing. We don't need to just match what these bad influences are offering to our young people in our community. We need to exceed what they are offering our young people in our community. Stories like mine shouldn't be an anomaly. They shouldn't be of luck, and they shouldn't be best case scenarios. Every child deserves the opportunity to succeed and live their life to the fullest potential. I'm proof that when there are resources and intentionality poured into our young people in our community, they too have a chance to reach their unique possibilities and pour back into our community and our society. And imagine what type of leaders the state of Minnesota could be on what it really takes to make intentional, long-lasting change. So I appreciate you all listening to my story today. I am more than happy to grab a cup of tea for you to learn more about my story or the amazing work my team is doing at the YMCA of the North. And I appreciate you considering, and I ask you to include this increase and to not stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony and for the work you do and for keep on coming back. Hopefully this will be the year, and very, very powerful testimony. So thank you so much.
Thank you all.
All right, and then we also have on the list Enzo Lakalasara. Welcome to our committee. Please introduce yourself and begin your testimony.
Hello, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Enzo Lakalasara, and I attend Anoka High School. I'm here to testify to you today on behalf of young people in support for increasing the funding for the Youth Intervention Program grant. As a young person, and speaking on behalf of my peers, we feel a constant and significant lack of support for our future and well-being as complete humans. Something needs to change, and I believe appropriately funding the YIP grant can be an important step. I can only speak to my experience as a student, but something that I have noticed amidst many of my peers, myself included, is a feeling that the system doesn't care about us. For example, our school district recently held a vote on a spending bill in which 2 out of 3 provisions passed, except for the provision that would have allowed for mental health resources to be supported and made available to students. Rather than trying to support our needs, the district's immediate solution to an increase in drug use and school violence was a massive increase in the amount of police officers at the school. This change only led to an increase in hostility in the school environment and the perception that those in charge would rather slap a Band-Aid on issues rather than address the root cause. Sexual harassment and physical assault are an inescapable reality of high school for many, if not most, of my female friends. Suicide rates have increased at alarming rates. Issues such as school dropouts, truancy, youth experiencing homelessness, drugs, alcohol, fights in school, school shootings, and students with firearms are regrettably common issues that young people deal with today. All of this was made worse by COVID. A very close friend of mine took his life at the age of 16. It certainly changed his life, and it impacted all those around him who loved him. I don't like speaking about it much, but I want you to know how real this is to me. His story is his own, but there are so many others like him. I can't help but wonder if he would have had support, if someone had cared more, if more had been done, would he still be alive? I don't want to lose another friend. I'm asking you to help us. The problems seem endless. It feels as if we are left to fend for ourselves. Young people are looking for support, but there is just not enough of it. But the members of this committee can help change this. The problems facing young people are persistent, real, pressing, and dangerous. These are hard, difficult times. The longer we go without support, the scarier it gets. It becomes more likely that many young people will have their lives irreversibly changed as a result. Madam Chair, I believe Youth Intervention Programs Grant can create change, and I'm certain it would mean a lot to so many young people. It will save lives. Please consider the impact you would have on those who so desperately need it and often never find it. Thank you. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony, and it was very powerful, and our sincere sympathies to you for the loss of your friend.
Thank you.
I'd also just note that, as Vice Chair Feist noted in the packet, there are a number of letters, and I think the ones from students or people who have been beneficiaries of these grants are just so very impactful, and encourage members and members of the public to take a look at those as well. Moving on to public testifier, we did have one member of the public sign up, and that's Tom Evanstad. Please come forward, introduce yourself, and begin your testimony. And Mr. Evanstad, you'll have 90 seconds. All right.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Muller, Vice Chair Feist. I'm here today in staunch support of this bill and any bill that helps to save lives and benefits people. And what I'm here to testify about today is, I apologize, I don't have my prepared remarks, but if you were to Google VOTP violence, you will find under crime solutions, the first thing that's going to pop up, VOTP violence. The National Institute of Justice, this is a U.S. government study from September 5, 2017. And what I'm talking about is the subsection of juveniles who are maybe prone to violence and would maybe be going down that route. I'm looking to intervene as well. So again, I am in support of the bill that you are discussing today. And when you look at this program profile called Violent Offender Treatment Program, VOTP, it is rated evidence rating promising. Program summary, quote, this treatment program aims to reduce recidivism among youths convicted of violent offenses in one southern state. The program offers 6 months of intensive therapeutic treatment to juveniles in a residential facility before they are released. The program is rated promising. Results show a statistically significant difference in reduced recidivism rates for juveniles who participated in the program compared with those who did not participate. When you go to program description is lengthy, so I'll go past that. Evaluation outcomes after a 3-year follow-up. I'm hearing the bell. So it's 9% recidivism reduction. Is that the bell for me to conclude?
It is.
Okay, and then
Thank you.
thank you. If people would please take a look at this VOTP. I'm recommending an MSOP for violent criminals, but opposite of MSOP, where you're actually trying to treat people and have them released back into the community safely. Thank you very much, Chair Mueller.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to testify in this bill? I'm not seeing anybody else, so we can move on to member discussion. Representative Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just note, as I'm sure has not been overlooked, that this is a bipartisan bill. We have authors on both sides of the aisle who've signed on to this. And what attracted me to it when I was presented with it is the notion that there's an inherent accountability just built into how these grants are offered. And that is that my understanding is that every dollar of YIP funding received by grantees must be matched by $1 of cash or in-kind contributions. So in other words, these groups have to go out and demonstrate their value to the community in order to get matching grants from us here in the state. And I think that's particularly relevant and well-timed considering we had a joint committee meeting yesterday between Children and Families and Education and Finance, where we heard the Office of Legislative Auditor summarize a report regarding grant management, and they found pervasive noncompliance was the term that they used with grant management practices. And I don't want to go too deeply into that, but only to say, I only cite it in order to highlight that that's a problem of incentive, and they're not being, the gears not meshing between the values being exchanged. So what this does, the way that these grants are administered by matching it to funds that are raised from the community, is you have that inherent mechanism where people have to see the value exchanged in the community. And they award that by contributing to what the groups are doing. And then we leverage that trust by providing our grant dollars here through this body. So that's why I'm supporting this. I appreciate this. I'm interested in looking at some of the other stuff that we've moved through this committee and comparing and contrasting how that functions and see if there aren't some opportunities there to make other grants function in a similar manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe just following up on that, and the use of these funds is just so powerful. I mean, my goodness, the testimony is just amazing. And I just, following up on Representative Hudson's comments, I guess it's notable to me that the appropriation is to OJP for youth intervention programs. We're not, I mean, actually, even YIPA is not specified in the appropriation itself. It has responsibility for the report. But just, we have a history in this committee of appropriating OJP and having them figure out the best way to get funds out. In this case, it's in partnership with YIPA. But I think sometimes it's been a problem, and I think attending that and actually co-chairing the hearing that Representative Hudson referenced, seems like a lot of the problem comes when the legislature says you have to give X amount of money to an organization, and then sometimes paperwork slides a bit because the agency kind of figures, well, we're supposed to give that money. And working with OJP, because we've told them to, right? And working with OJP in this area and others, they do such a good job of keeping an eye on where that goes and having a process there. And so I kind of want to make sure to note that for all of us in this set of programs and some of the others as well. So thanks, Representative Feist, for your work, and to YIPA and to these programs doing such important work around the state. Thanks.
Further discussion? Representative Novotny.
Thank you, Chair Mueller. My question will be more for the director from YIPA. Is he still, Paul? Some of the contributions that we talked about, the organization that's doing the grant has to provide matching funding. It looks like pro bono contributions are allowed. Is there any limits on the amount of pro bono contributions that are considered in the matching?
Mr. Munir.
Madam Chair, Representative Novotny, the one-to-one match requirement, it can be met in a couple different ways. There's hard matches and there's soft matches. The hard matches are if somebody goes and gets a cash donation from somebody in the community or a local government provides some funding, that could be considered a hard donation. There's also some other criteria for that. But then what you're asking about is the soft contributions. And that can be met in a number of ways. And one of the ways is an in-kind contribution. So, for example, if a program, which many of our programs do, is leverage volunteers from the communities. And so organizations are able to provide a salary number for those volunteers to be able to count that as a match. Your question is interesting, and the last thing I want to do is tell this committee something that I don't know. The Office of Justice Program receives the grants and measures the match. I don't know if they have a requirement for if there's a limit to how much of the in-kind contributions can be. But so I could get you that information. I'd be happy to, and I don't know where I would present it to, if it's just to you directly, but I would be happy to find that out and work with OJP and get that answer. But I can tell you a little bit about the grant match, because it is an interesting thing that you brought up, and Representative Hudson was also talking about it. In 2015 or 2016, we changed the match. It used to be to 2-to-1 match. So for every $1 you got in state funding reimbursed, you had to have $2 from the local community first. The problem, though, is we kept hearing over and over again from greater Minnesota communities and the smaller communities that they couldn't meet the 2-to-1 match. And we didn't want some places where there's service islands where you can't get access to stuff. I said that wrong. We didn't want deserts where you can't get stuff. And so we advocated for, and the legislature at that time changed to 1-to-1, so more greater Minnesota and smaller organizations would have access to that grant as well. I'd also like to, I guess this is the time, I never had a chance to do that because during COVID, we also asked the legislature, and the legislature agreed. We suspended the 1-to-1 match because financial donations just dried up during COVID. Many of our organizations rely on big fundraisers and community events to get the money. And during 2020, when COVID was strong, they didn't have the ability to raise those donations. So for 1 year, the 1-to-1 match was suspended, but it kicked back in 2021 just to cover that kind of rough stretch that they had. I hope I answered your question. If you want more further information, I'm happy to get that for you.
Actually, you did. And just one quick
Representative
follow-up.
Novotny, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Mueller. And then under the author's amendment that was submitted, and I think it's a great author's amendment. Thank you, Representative Feist, for bringing that forward. It says the grantees have to submit these reports. Is YIP overall going to be submitting a report for like your administrative cost? I noticed that you've got a max take of 5% of the grant,
Yeah.
which if they get the full grant would be over $1 million
Yeah.
for the 2-year period. So do you typically take, what is the administrative cost right now? And do you anticipate with the larger grant by scale, would that come down?
Mr. Munir, if you can answer that question, please. And if you can keep it short,
I'm
we'd appreciate
sorry.
it. No, it's fine. We know you're passionate about this, and we appreciate the information you're providing. Go ahead.
We welcome the reporting. We're happy to do that. We volunteered to be a partner with OJP and help put together that because we want to know the data ourselves as well. If this full thing was funded, YIPA would not accept the full 5%. I can't tell you what that percentage would be. We have a number of initiatives we'd love to do. It involved learning. We have a youth worker toolkit. We have customized training plans. We would like to do a lot to help our organizations be stronger when they have that moment to impact young people, that they're the best that they can be. But if it's fully funded, I would not take that full amount. We would not need that much. I don't know how I would spend that much money, to be honest with you. I would rather see it go to some of these programs. But we would accept an increase. I just don't know where that value.
Representative Novotny.
Thank you, Chair Mueller.
All right. Representative Feist, any closing comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to read a few comments. Mr. Munir gave me 50 pages of one-sentence responses from youth who participated in these programs, and I just wanted to read a few of those. So the question is, please share something about yourself that you are proud of as a result of your involvement in this program. And some of the responses were my forgiveness, that I do my best and care about people, I'm talking to my mom again, I'm learning to trust others, I'm staying out of trouble, it helped me accept who I am. There are just so many. This one says, I got into Harvard. Hopefully they're telling the truth. Some of these responses are kind of glib. That I am a leader. It's just really heartwarming. This person said everything, and I assume they weren't being glib and that they were speaking from the heart. So I just wanted to mention some of those. And just to quote some of our presenters, this fund, the word intentionality, I think is really apt. It's a very thoughtful program in terms of the programs that are supported. One of our speakers said, young people are looking for support, but there's not enough of it. And I just wanted to point to, again, Boulder Options, which was the program I went to on Tuesday night. They have been around now for 30 years. They have a $1.8 million budget. Apparently the guy who runs it is famous, but I didn't realize that when I met him. He's like a gopher. But it's just a really impressive program, and YIP has been a really big part of its growth and stability over time. And so I just would encourage folks to support this great program.
Great. Thank you so much. I'll renew my motion and lay over House File 1048 as amended.